Now that we went over the types of default services, I want to go into the fields again to add a charge. We're going to search for the name of the service or the inventory item and select it from the drop-down menu. So, service or inventory item name will appear here. Charge amount will always be the amount of the service or inventory item that you have at your system or location level. Write-off amount is an inline write-off for this specific service. Say they get a particular discount for their care plan. Say it's 20% off of their entire care plan, and you would want to calculate what 20% of the service is. You would input here that write-off amount that would provide an inline write-off for this specific service and a write-off reason. These are the reasons you can choose from. These are not editable at this time. What this inline write-off will accomplish is being able to provide a discount for a patient, but not show that you are doing a dual fee schedule. Your charge amount should always be your charge amount. You should not have different prices from one patient to another in terms of your default charge amount. That should be standard across your board. But we can indicate if a patient is receiving a discount via the inline write-off, amount, and reason. This will apply on the patient's ledger and show that they received a write-off, which will then take into account what they do or do not owe towards your office. But this inline write-off will help alleviate a dual fee schedule. Units. You can override and specify a set number of units for a service. You can also apply DX code mapping or pointers to a default service. So if you have specific mapping that needs to happen every time on this visit for this patient, you can set up DX code mapping. You can add modifiers specific to this patient's default services. Time of purchase fields are the same as every visit, and the monthly fields are the same, except for the charge day of the month and the charges remaining, which we covered when we went over this type of service. If I am using an insurance case, I can still set up default services, but my fields are limited. You cannot add an inline write-off on an insurance service when you are posting an EOB. You may end up having to write off an amount at that point, but out the gate, you cannot add an inline write-off on a service on an insurance ledger. So you see here, I can do charge amount, which has to stay your charge amount. Your charge amount is always your charge. That shouldn't change from patient to patient. Again, I can set up units if I need to. I can set up DX code mapping if I need to. I can insert a modifier if I need to by clicking on the override button. So, setting up default services on an insurance case is the same concept as a cash case, but you just don't have the options of an inline write-off. If I am an office that uses fee schedules, you will need to select the fee schedule first, and then set up your service. As you can see here, then there are certain fields that are controlled by the fee schedule. These are not editable as they are locked down by that fee schedule, but I can still set up a unit override and a DX code mapping. But if you're using fee schedules, it is imperative that you add the fee schedule first and then set the services. It's important to remember that when setting up default services and using every visit type, default services will only post automatically when specific conditions are met. The service must be set on the patient's default case, the appointment must be scheduled on a chiropractic calendar with a chiropractor provider, the appointment must be marked as arrived, and a SOAP note must be saved or finalized by the provider on the same day as the visit. Any workflow outside of these conditions will require manual charge posting, such as non-chiropractic calendars, delayed SOAP notes, or multiple cases.